Welcome fight fans to my channel. This is Johnny, and today we're going to be going over the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning Canelo Alvarez 12-round decision victory over Jaime Munguia. Guys, hopefully you watched the fights yesterday and got to see Canelo Alvarez show his dominance over a young, hungry, and very game Jaime Munguia. We did a video last week talking about a breakdown how both fighters would have to go about their business in order to become victorious, and it started off right on track. You guys have to tip your hat and give kudos to Munguia. This is a guy who lived up to the so-called Mexican style of fighting, and he initially brought the fight to Canelo, and Canelo stood there and traded with him, and Munguia's output was on display in the early rounds. And this is something we spoke about last week, is that if Munguia wanted to be successful, he was gonna have to outpunch and outland Canelo, but he was also gonna have to be accurate, because one of the things Canelo does is he's a bit of an assassin in there, not at long range, but in the pocket. And as the early rounds were progressing, we got to see this story started to play out. And it was gonna become a case of, can Munguia keep the tempo and pace up? Can he hurt Canelo? Can Canelo weather the storm and the onslaught that Munguia was bringing to him? And could Canelo, towards the middle or later rounds, hurt Munguia? And if you watch the fight, this is exactly what happened. So today I want to go over the punch stats. We're going to talk about jabs, power shots, total shots landed, and we're going to also talk about some of those statistics regarding accuracy, because the word accuracy and precision were two of the words I spoke about last week, talking about Canelo and his strengths. And then also with Munguia, we're gonna look at his accuracy and his punch ratio as well. So before we move any farther, let's take a closer look at those statistics. All right, guys, we know the jab is the most important punch in a fighter's arsenal, and we knew that Munguia would constantly try to throw his jab to set up his power shots with Canelo, and we knew Canelo in the pocket and in the clinch would throw that short jab to set up his body shots. So when we look at the total amount of jabs thrown throughout the entire fight, Canelo Alvarez threw 232 jabs, landing 83 at a 36% clip. Munguia threw 335, so over 100 more jabs, but only landed 74 at a 22% clip. So from the story of the jab, we look at the accuracy of Canelo, and that really did play a role in the fight and the outcome. Let's transition to the power shots. Of the total punches landed, Canelo Alvarez threw 304 power shots, landing 151, almost a 50% clip. So last week when we spoke about it, accuracy and precision, Canelo Alvarez was at his best. 50% power shots landed. Munguia throws 328, landing at 96, 30%. Guys, we know Canelo Alvarez was the first fighter to knock down Jaime Munguia yesterday, and this played a fact and it played a role. When Munguia tasted and felt that power, it changed his game plan, and that's how power could always be the greatest equalizer. And I told you last week, just because Canelo isn't finishing guys, that doesn't mean he doesn't have power, and this was true. What that power did to Munguia, when he felt it, when he got dropped with that gorgeous placed uppercut, he then knew that he had to be way more cautious and taking risks in the pocket, and then you started seeing his punch total numbers go down, and he started missing more. Let's take a closer look now at the total punches thrown and landed and those percentages. Overall, Canelo Alvarez threw 536 punches, landing 234 at a 44% clip. Jaime Munguia threw 663, once again over 100 total more, but only landing 170 at a 25% clip. And guys, this was the story of the fight. Munguia was gonna have to outpunch Canelo, but he also was gonna have to land just as much, and that just wasn't the case. He felt him early, he gave it all he can. Munguia, like I said, you gotta tip your hat to him. He brought the fight to Canelo. Neither one of these guys were waiting on their back foot. And say what you will about the decision, it was a fair decision. You saw an old mule outclass, outshine, and outbox a young lion. A few questions about the decision, only time will be able to answer them. Will Jaime Munguia let this loss affect him negatively or positively? A lot of boxing analysts are saying that Canelo Alvarez, when he lost his first fight against Floyd, it changed him and turned him into a better fighter, and a lot of Munguia's fans are hoping that this will be the case with Jaime Munguia. He got a lot of praise. I think Munguia, his stock actually went up after this fight. I've always been a fan. Now to have 12 rounds of experience with Canelo Alvarez, guys, that could only be a positive and net gain for Jaime Munguia, you'd have to think. I do want to end this video on what's next for Canelo Alvarez, what's next for Jaime Munguia. We saw David Benavidez in the stands, and Canelo after the fight was calling him into the ring, but then Berlanga has thrown his name in there. He's been named as a mandatory for one of Canelo's belts. Will it be Berlanga versus Canelo? I know he really wants that fight. Benavidez versus Canelo. We know David is in fight camp as we speak. So there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered. And what's Jaime Munguia do from here? 168 looks like a great weight class. He's still young. One loss, especially to Canelo, shouldn't hurt him too bad. We'll see how he recovers. We know how mental boxing is. It's such a thinking man sport. So once again, we'll just let the chips fall as they may and see what happens from here. What do you guys think of the fight last night? Did you think Canelo's performance was top-notch? What did you think of Munguia? Overall, let me know about the statistics too. Leave it in the comment section below.